to the big 1-2 here on 365 Sports. I'm Paul Catalina alongside JD Piquel. And of course, we're brought to you as always by Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Check out shortyspizzashack.com for the daily slice board and maybe stop by on Saturday. There's a bye week this week for Baylor. If you're in town, have a $4 Boone's Farm.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Might as well. It's game day somewhere.
Yeah, look, if you're 40 years old like me, you probably haven't had Boone's Farm in a while. It's been a long time since college, but Shorty's Pizza Shack can bring that back for you.
What is Boone's Farm for those that are unfamiliar?
It's a very cheap wine that tastes like different flavors like blue raspberry and peach.
Beautiful.
Yeah, again.
I'm sold.
Yeah, it's great. Comes with a bottle that's larger than you should drink on your own, but you can.
You get some friends.
Yeah. You don't really share a bottle of Boone's Farm, but you just,
Maybe for driving, you share.
Yeah. I don't know. Also, please like and subscribe when you get a chance to our channel and, of course, CFB with JD and the NFL channel. Anything 365 Sports. Just like and subscribe. If you're one of the over 13,000 and near 14,000 people who like our main channel, please like the other channels as well. It would really, really help us out. So it'll prove your love to us, and that's important.
Boom.
Yeah. We always like to put emotional tests on our fans and viewers.
You gotta kind of whittle it out, right? You gotta kind of just figure out, who's really down for this?
Yes. Who wants to put a ring on it? That's what we want to know.
That's what we want to know.
We're not here for a fling.
No.
We are here for commitment and long term.
Yep.
We're not just some Tinder date for you guys. That's not what we are.
You sickos.
JD, a very interesting week in the Big 12 this week. When you talk about the conference is now starting to weed itself out. Like you're starting to see what the tiers are. And it's not only somewhat evident, it's very evident that there's a top tier to this league, which right now to me is Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Baylor.
Yep.
And then Iowa State is at the top of the middle that could jump back into the top. And that the middle is Texas, TCU, and Kansas State. And then West Virginia, Tech, and Kansas at the bottom. I think that's the bottom of the league. Now, Texas Tech, I know, has a slightly better record that would indicate them they're at the bottom, but they have not played the very meat of the schedule yet. Oof. And the only meat on the bone team they played was Texas, and they lost by 35.
Right.
And that's a team, Texas, that has so many different weird things going on with it. And we'll talk about that. But your thoughts on where the league is starting to shape out now?
Yeah, I think you nailed the, tiers to the Big 12 right now. The interesting part about the Big 12 as a conference, maybe college football in general, but especially the Big 12, anybody in that middle tier that you just talked about, if they beat one of those upper tier teams, I don't think anybody bats an eye. Like if Kansas State were to beat, let's see, who did they play this week?
They played Texas Tech.
They played Texas Tech. Okay, so if Kansas State were to catch Texas later in the year and beat them, I guess they're middle tier, but bottom line, if one of these middle tier teams beats one of the upper tier teams, we won't be surprised. In fact, I think we expect it. We expect someone to spoil somebody's Big 12 odds. Oklahoma's on a tear right now. Oklahoma, for all of us, we're really thinking, okay, are they when are they going to lose a game with Spencer Rattler at quarterback? Like, when is that going to happen? Because there's not going to be an undefeated Big 12 champion. Now with Caleb Williams, I'm starting to walk that take back myself and say, well, Caleb Williams might be that guy. Like they're rolling.
He's given them their identity back.
Yes.
He has made them who they are again. And if you think about who Oklahoma has been under Lincoln Riley, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
What do they all have in common? They can run the ball. They're mobile. And while they may not be, Jalen Hurts obviously more of a run-first guy than a pass-first guy. But, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield, those guys could run and throw, and they were dual-threat quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler was not that. No. He was not a dual threat. He's not statuesque. He's not Dan Marino back there or anything like that, where you can't, or Ben Roethlisberger now, where he can create, but he's not. He doesn't have the ability to get away. And in the offense that Oklahoma's used to running, the quarterback can get you a first down with his legs, and that's not really what Spencer Rattler can do. Not only get your first down, can make big plays. Kyler Murray made huge plays. Caleb Williams is now back in that mold. So Caleb Williams gives them their true identity back. And look, Spencer Rattler might wind up being an excellent NFL quarterback down the line. He might end up being a great college quarterback in a system that more fits him, but I think the evidence is there that Caleb Williams has turned Oklahoma into what they were.
The most shocking thing about this is Caleb Williams looks like he knows what he's doing substantially more than Spencer Rattler did. Like, you're looking at guys that should have been involved in this offense early in the year. Like Marvin Mims had no touchdown receptions from Spencer Rattler. Jaden Hazelwood, one of your starting receivers at X, no touchdown receptions. They have 2 and 3 respectively now that Caleb Williams has taken over. Also, the run game has taken off. Like, they were averaging somewhere in the realm of 5-ish yards per carry, 4-ish yards per carry. They're averaging 7 yards a carry. Granted, those are 2 games against Texas and TCU, so we'll see down the road. They have a pretty tough 3-game stretch to end this season. But, I mean, like, this offense just looks substantially more capable, more competent, and the playmakers that we expected at the beginning of the year to be making plays are now finally showing up with a new quarterback.
Yeah, and the second team we got to talk about in the top tier is Oklahoma State, who did not look good for most of the game against Texas. But you don't win most of the game or lose most of the game. You win a game or you lose a game based on the totality of that game. And the fourth quarter, again, a bugaboo for the Texas Longhorns. And Oklahoma State, I mean, dominated them in that fourth quarter. Physically dominated them in that fourth quarter. Much like Oklahoma did the week before, where Texas had no answers for that. And you got to wonder, that's probably a strength and conditioning issue that's got to pop up. Teams that fade in the fourth quarter, most of the time it's because they're not in the kind of shape and they don't have maybe the kind of depth that you think that they do. I think that's one thing that everybody talks about Texas and how they have new play, these playmakers like Bijan Robinson or Xavier Worthy, but do they have the depth to make it through games where maybe Bijan Robinson has to take a series off because he's just a little sore?
Yeah.
Do they have the ability to win in a series that Bijan Robinson isn't playing in? Do they have the ability to get a first down without him in the game or without him being a factor? Can they do that? And they couldn't do it against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State early on let Bijan Robinson kind of have his way, and then later on clamped down. Casey Thompson played really rough. He did take a hard hit and left the game for a play. So, we need to talk about Oklahoma State here. Texas is coming, but that's a big issue for them. But Oklahoma State, they figured out a way to win games that works for them.
They just find ways.
They find ways. It's not, you can't go in and go, oh, this is a great matchup for them. I don't know what's a great matchup for Oklahoma State. I don't, but they find ways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still waiting for them to lose a game. I'm just convinced Spencer Sanders isn't that guy to win you a Big 12 title. I see them finishing with maybe 2 losses, but I mean, looking at their schedule, I don't know who they're going to lose to, because time and time and again, I've thought they're going to lose games. I thought they'd lose to Boise State, and they're sitting here undefeated. But it is interesting to look at the Texas game because Oklahoma State came off a bye. Texas came off their hardest fought game all season. I mean, took it down to the wire with Oklahoma. A lot of emotional juice into that game. So for them to have to try and kind of rally the horse and circle the wagons and try to find a way to be competitive in that game, and they absolutely were competitive, but to kind of rally for that game after playing a really tough game the week before, and now for Oklahoma State to be rested, I think that reared its head especially late because Texas got off to a really hard start. Like you said, Bijan Robinson, he was rolling, and then they sort of faded down the stretch. So strength conditioning for sure could be a factor. I think definitely the bye really favored Oklahoma State, so they did a good job using that.
And the other team at the top tier of the Big 12, the Baylor Bears, and they're 6-1 right now and bowl eligible after being 2-7 last year. And every move that Dave Aranda has made from the end of last season to now is paying off.
Yeah.
Whether it's transfers, Apu Ika, Grant Miller, Jacob Gall, Drew Estrada, all playing well for them at their respective positions. The staff changes in offense. Jeff Grimes, Chancey Stuckey, Sean Bell. I mean, Sean Bell was already there, but rolling him into that quarterback coach position where he was really meant to be, and then Eric Mateos, strength coach. All these different things he changed have worked out, and you're seeing the philosopher come out at him, and it's really starting to pay off.
And they continue to adapt as well. Like, there is usually game to game, you see teams do something poorly, and then you're like, man, well, that might just be this year's team. Like, maybe they just can't finish in the red zone. Maybe they just got penalties. Maybe they can't run the football. And week in and week out, we see them be weak in one area. They correct it the next week. So for Oklahoma State, struggle to run the football. Next week, what do? They come out and run for over 200, maybe, might have been over 300 yards in that game. I mean, they just continue to correct and adapt and figure out how to perfect their scheme. And I think, honestly, we might know the most about Baylor right now because I think Gary Bohannon has proven he's a consistent quarterback. Threw his first interception this week, but he's a consistent quarterback. And that run game isn't going anywhere. I mean, they got 2 beasts in Ebner and Abram Smith, guys that you can lean on, I really feel like, going forward. Like, Jalen Warren's phenomenal, Bijan Robinson's phenomenal, Breece Hall's phenomenal, but to have 2 stud backs that could definitely start anywhere else in this conference. Well, maybe the exception of those schools I just named.
Yeah.
But guys that could start anywhere in the country and have them both on your team, that's going to be enormous for them down the stretch.
Yeah, Abram Smith has played his way into some money. I mean, he really has. He was already a pretty darn good linebacker.
It's a great linebacker, yeah.
And he was at linebacker a guy who was probably going to get a shot late in the draft.
Yeah.
At running back, he's somewhere in the middle because he runs he straight line, foot in the ground, one cut. I'm running you over if you're in my way. Runs through contact, doesn't dance in the hole, decisive runner, all those things, and perfect for this offense.
He should be all conference. He should be all conference.
He absolutely should be.
He's exactly what Algier is to BYU a year ago. Converted linebacker, gets downhill. Like you said, he's not going to shake and bake too much in the hole, but when he gets ahead of steam, he's decisive, puts his foot in the ground, and runs you over. And that's where a lot of his yards come from. Having Jeff Grimes be the new OC for them, I think was the greatest thing to ever happen to Abram Smith. And congratulations to him because he's been a phenomenal story to follow.
Yeah, it has been, and the defense continues to do what they do. Now, they gave up a bunch of big chunk passing plays, but I think they were clearly willing to risk that, knowing that was what BYU was going to have to do to beat them. They didn't. Algier did not.
Like 30 yards.
Yeah, he didn't pee a drop at all. It was tough, and they had 65 yards rushing or 67 yard rushing, and most of it came on the touchdown run by Hall. So they had on their other 17 carries or whatever, they got the rest of the 11 yards. So it was really, really bad for BYU in the run game. And BYU is a good team, and that's a team that can beat most teams that they play. That BYU's probably better than most of the teams in the Pac-12. They've already gone 4-0, and it would not shock me at all if they beat USC rather soundly at the end of the year.
I think they should, yeah.
Yeah. And that was something to see Baylor do it. I thought the game would be close, and it was for a good chunk of the game, but the third quarter showed how Baylor can now play confident and punish people.
Yeah.
They physically punished BYU for even thinking about running the ball.
Yeah.
For even thinking about, you're gonna try to do a 7-step drop. Okay, good deal.
Coming after you.
Yeah, we're coming. And we cannot let this segment go without talking about Dylan Doyle. What a game he had. A touchdown rushing, a touchdown receiving, and a sack. And just for people who may not know, Dylan Doyle is a linebacker who is playing fullback in a one package that has maybe 4 plays that they run out of it.
Sure.
And of the 4 plays, 2 of them are the same. They're just to the different side.
Right.
It's right and left. So and he scored touchdowns on that. And he was thrilled to do it. So Baylor's got some real depth and some real possibilities here down the line. Now look, Oklahoma and Texas is after the bye. That's not a good matchup defensively for anybody. We've seen it. Texas can do things because they have Bijan Robinson. Oklahoma is all of a sudden Oklahoma again, and those are their next 2 games, plus a rivalry matchup with TCU still on the schedule, a trip up to Manhattan, which is a tough place for anyone to play. So there are tough games remaining on the schedule for the 5 games out, and then they wrap the season with Tech. But Baylor's a real contender in the Big 12. Now they're going to need help because they have the loss, but they're a real contender right now.
I'm really interested to see what happens when you get into a track meet if you're Baylor. And I don't anticipate that happening very frequently. It might happen once with Oklahoma because their defense is so solid. But I feel like we're still continuing to wonder, okay, what's under the hood offensively? Because the way they've been scoring, and they've scored a lot of points, the way they've been scoring has been we're going to run the football, we're going to ground and pound, then we'll hit you over the top. What happens when you take away that run game like we saw against Oklahoma State? Can you create specifically with the pass game? Again, I don't know that they'll have to do that because of how good their defense is, but that would be the test where I'd be very interested to see, okay, what does Baylor have under the hood late in the season? So, they're rolling right now.
Texas in 2 weeks will be very interesting because by far the best offensive player they would have played all season will be Bijan Robinson because he's the best offensive player anyone will play all season in the Big 12, in my opinion. So how do they react to Bijan Robinson? How do they react to everything else? But can the Texas defense get in front of Abram Smith and stop him?
We're going to see.
Or Treston Ebner. Can they do that? They have not shown the ability to do that just yet. In that, Texas, it kind of has to go their way and keep going their way, which means that they've got talent, but they're not good yet.
Yeah.
I think people don't often understand the delineation of talent and good. Texas is talented, but they're not good yet. I think Steve Sarkisian will probably make them good, but you can be plenty talented and not be good.
Yeah. And I do think that offense is farther along than we thought it would be. Like that project is further along. I think the offense is closer to good. The defense, like you said, a lot of pieces. Demarion Overshone's, I think, one of the better players in the Big 12. I think he should be an all-conference consideration kind of guy. But in terms of playing cohesively, they got real problems in the back end. Like, they are not great tacklers. They're not great in coverage. So if they get tested by a team like we saw it against Oklahoma, they got absolutely just torched. So we'll see. I would make the secondary beat you if I'm playing Texas. But to your point, Bijan Robinson's the ultimate chess piece. You have to account for him. And he's going to be, what this entire rest of their schedule hinges on is, can you create with Bijan Robinson and put your defense in favorable positions? So we'll see.
Yeah, that's true. Now in that middle tier, Iowa State, I think they're probably going to be at least season ruiners to a couple of these good teams. They play Oklahoma State this week, something we'll talk about in the next segment. And that to me is the most interesting game in the league this week is Iowa State and Oklahoma State. But Texas. We can kind of count them out of the Big 12 race at this point. I don't. They may not lose another game, but I think they'll probably lose another game or two because again, when you're talented and not good, that means that you've got some losses coming your way.
Yeah.
And look, they still have Baylor, who's good in front of them. They haven't played Kansas yet. They haven't played Kansas, so yeah, they'll probably win more than they lose on the way out, and that'll be fine. But they are what they are. They're 9-3, 8-4 kind of a team. That's what they are. Now, and Iowa State, I think has the pieces to go on a run. And again, Iowa State's losses are to Iowa, who just lost for the first time this week, and to Baylor, who has one loss. So Iowa State hasn't lost to bad teams. So it leads me to believe that they still have a win against a good team in them.
And I wonder how much is that wearing on their psyche, because going into the season it was, okay, Iowa State and Oklahoma, they're going to go toe-to-toe for the Big 12 title. Iowa State maybe plays spoiler, finds a way to sneak into the college football playoff, and now with 2 losses, that's all dashed. Not necessarily the conference title, but your playoff hopes, your national aspirations are more or less falling by the wayside. So now does that release some pressure? Is it, okay, now we can just play our game, like you said, get on a run through the rest of the Big 12, or is it, man, what's the point? Brock Purdy, I'm going to the NFL. Breece Hall, I'm going to the NFL. All these guys that came back to do great things nationally are now having to, look back at their schedule and say, all right, we got this team left to play, this team left to play. I do think they have some losses left. Like the Texas game is going to be really interesting. And I think we learned a lot about both teams there. I do think Texas will still spoil someone's chances at the Big 12 title. It might just be Iowa State's. We'll see here in a few weeks. But I really still have a lot of reservations about Brock Purdy because I think he's shown on more than one occasion when they take away Breece Hall, he's not the guy that's going to beat you and put the team on his back. So I worry about him, but defense is really solid. Breece Hall is obviously one of the best backs in the conference, if not the country. So a lot of question marks, I think, for them the rest of the schedule. And they got their work cut out for them. They have TCU to finish the year, have to go to Norman, get Texas at home. West Virginia decides to be sneaky every now and then. So, they're going to have, I think, their work cut out for them. It won't be easy, but I do think they'll finish on a reasonable tear.
Yeah, and I think Kansas State's going to beat a couple teams probably. I think they're good enough too. But again, they're still a couple years away to me from being what Chris Kleiman wants them to be.
Yeah.
It's just fully what he wants them to be. You can see it. The bones are there, but it's just not there yet.
It's just tough the way they're always built because, they play great defense. They ask to run the football, and when you take one of those away, it really comes apart at the seams. I love watching the way they play because they're just like the definition of physical football, which is fun for football fans like us. But I just think the way they're built is going to really put them at a disadvantage when they get down 14-0. That's tough for this team. They're not built to come back from 14-0. They're built to be ahead 10-3 and finish 13-3 in the final score. That's how they try to win games. So, I think that showed itself when Iowa State scored 33 points. That just wasn't how they're supposed to win.
Yeah, and I think that part of the reason that you see teams built like a lot of teams in the Big 12 are now, and this is kind of a deep thought that could go off on a tangent, but
I love it.
I think the transfer portal, particularly for quarterback, the transfer portal for everybody else, there's a million linemen, there's a million wide receivers. Linemen, it's hard to find really good ones.
Sure.
But you can find guys on offense you can teach to stand in the way of the other fat guy. Just do that. But the quarterback position, you could run some of these part of the reason Art Briles' offense was so successful is he had guys that didn't jump in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And just quarterback after quarterback after quarterback could come in and be good in it. Well, now guys aren't going to wait at quarterback. You can only have one quarterback on the field at once, and only one guy can take the snap. So because of that, you see guys just going to the portal. So what protects your offense from the portal? It's being run defense oriented. That way that you lose your starting quarterback, you've probably lost the other good one to the portal if they happen to be close in, class year. And so now you've got to build teams that are less, rip it up on offense and more built to withstand the loss of a quarterback to injury.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this is. And that's why I think we see what we're seeing, particularly in the Big 12 now, because you're not going to sit and wait for 3 years anymore.
No.
No matter how much you love a school, you're not going to wait for 3 years.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see offenses go that way. Now, certain teams don't. If you're Alabama, you have to worry about it. But, there's only a few teams that will. I mean, look, Georgia had to work. Georgia lost Justin Fields to Ohio State.
Yeah.
If you get two elite quarterbacks, one of them's going to find a place that needs a guy. That's just what they're going to do.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought that, you're sort of eliminating how dependent you are on a quarterback. Now, for some of these teams, it's, okay, well, we're not getting enough linemen, so we need to depend on the quarterback. We need to have that quick West Coast offense where the ball is getting out of our hands to our best receiver. And so, no, I agree that we're seeing less and less of that, and I think that could definitely be a part of the transfer portal.
And Kansas State to me is that definition, and that, like, you have a guy, Skylar Thompson, who you like, but he's not very durable.
Yeah.
And Will Howard might be a good quarterback soon, but he keeps getting thrown in situations where he's not expected to play.
He's not supposed to be playing.
He's not supposed to be playing.
Yeah.
So Will Howard will probably be a lot better when he knows, like, this is my team and I am the guy. But, that's why I think they're a little bit away. And it takes time to find consistency. You can't just, Caleb Williams doesn't grow on trees. There's no little orchard full of, Bryce Youngs or guys like that.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence. There's no, I'm just going to go to the Trevor Lawrence patch and get another one.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they don't do that. So, I think that, it's hard, and that's why you see the offenses in the Big 12 doing what they're doing.
I could see that. I think there's obviously other benefits to it as well of, you kind of take the wind out of the sails and you're able to control the tempo of the game. But, I think that's a really interesting thought, and I think there's some validity to that for sure.
Also, defense and run game first travels in any conditions.
Anywhere you want.
Any conditions.
Anywhere you want.
Watch any coach that runs the spread offense when you tell him, Coach, there's a 25% chance of rain on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You can get through TSA with the defense and a good run game anywhere.
Exactly.
Anywhere.
Exactly. All right, we'll take a break right here. When we come back, we'll break down the games for this week. Plus, in the third segment, Chalk Talk. Good Spencer Sanders, bad Spencer Sanders. JD breaks it down for us then. Stick around. This is the big one, too. 365 Sports. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th at Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza, great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by. Welcome back into the big one, too, here on 365 Sports. Please like and subscribe whenever you get the chance. Paul Catalina, JD Piquel, brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack, and great people at Shorty's Pizza Shack. If you've not been there, then you are missing out. It's a good vibe.
Some of the best people.
I'll tell you, the whole vibe at Shorty's is one of those places you could not go into and be in a bad mood. And if you go into Shorty's in a bad mood and you leave in a bad mood, then you clearly need to just see about the rest of your life.
Oh, 1,000%.
Something else is going on.
There was homecoming weekend in Waco this week, right? So thousands of people back in Waco. Baylor students, Wacoans, whatever, you're back in Waco. Shorty's is packed. Probably Scruff's is packed too. Shorty's is packed, meaning all these people could go anywhere in Waco, anywhere, and they're in Shorty's Pizza Shack, just overflowing with human bodies.
For the vibe.
For the vibe.
Yeah, for the vibe. Not even just for the pizza. For the vibe.
Come for the vibe, stay for the pizza.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, this week in the Big 12, JD again. He got some bye weeks. Obviously, Baylor's on bye this week. Texas gets to take a week off before they come here to Waco. So got a couple byes, but we'll start just chronologically. Kansas State and Texas Tech. Texas Tech beat Kansas. Doesn't matter in good.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter in Matt Wells' overall, performance review when it comes to him keeping his job. I think Kansas State's a better coached football team right now. I think that Kansas State probably wins this game, but Tech has been a little bit surprising, and they've shown some gumption and ability to hang around in these things.
Yeah, they've showed some life. I mean, if they can get ahead in this game, if they can jump out to, like we said in our last segment, if they can find a way to get up on Kansas State, Wildcats aren't built to be a come-from-behind team. They want to ground and pound you out, black and blue you up a little bit, run for $130 and call it a day. But, I mean, we're not making picks in this segment, but I feel really good about Kansas State's chances in this game because, like we said, defense travels, run game travels. Texas Tech has been jumpy. They've shown some life, but haven't been winning as much as they probably need to instill some confidence. So take that as you will, but it'll be a good game.
Yeah, should be a pretty good one. Oklahoma and Kansas. This is the Caleb Williams gets to work on the little things game because I think this is where Oklahoma – and the thing is, having Kansas at this point in the season where you have 2 games of Caleb Williams and you probably haven't gotten to maybe throw out some stuff that you want to see and how he handles it. This is the let's get everybody kind of in tune and rhythm game. And then you've got the home stretch of the Big 12 coming up. I mean this is going to be bad for the poor little Jayhawks.
This lines up perfectly for Oklahoma. Also, they get to go on the road, so it's kind of that, okay, this is a road game for you now, Caleb. This is his first true road game. Really played the neutral site, then he played at home last week, and now he goes on the road to Lawrence, Kansas. But all that aside, he's also going to pad some stats. I mean, I think he entered the Heisman Trophy odds for Vegas. I think it was like 20-1. Expect that to go way, way up after he puts however many touchdowns on the Jayhawks. I wouldn't keep him more than a half, but might see Spencer Rattler take the field again against Kansas.
Yeah, and look, I applaud Spencer Rattler for sticking it out, at least so far.
Yeah.
I mean, he's every Caleb Williams touchdown is a step closer into the transfer portal for Spencer Rattler. But, at this point, what's the benefit of him leaving?
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is one play away from Spencer Rattler going back in the game and maybe becoming Spencer Rattler that everybody knew. I mean,
absolutely.
Sometimes these things happen for a good reason.
Yeah.
And I applaud him for staying and not immediately going, well, I'm going into the portal. Good luck. You're not my problem anymore.
Yeah, and he's at least put on a brave face. Like, I think he tweeted the day after they played Texas. He said, "Good team win." Like, he didn't have to tweet that. Well, I mean, it's kind of like a good,
that's
good look.
That's what he needs to do.
That's what he needs to do.
Honestly, if I'm whoever the next thing is for Spencer Rattler, and I don't think it's going to be NFL because he's going to need to put some more good stuff on tape.
Yeah.
But even the next thing is the NFL. But whoever the next team is, I think it would behoove Spencer Sanders to show his future coaches that, yes, I can take a lump, I can build my trust back up with my teammates, and I can stick through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if he had just gone right in the transfer portal, it would have confirmed what everybody thought about him.
Yeah.
Is that he's about Spencer Rattler and nobody else. And that's why Caleb Williams was able to come in and so easily turn the team around like the fairy godmother.
Yeah.
I mean, just boop.
It was like, oh, you're kind of a team first. And I know Lincoln Riley says they're both team first guys. Well, one team first guy gets a lot better response from his team than the other team first guy. So we'll leave it at that. But also to your point, there is no guarantee that they won't need Spencer Rattler down the stretch. Like, they play 3 really physical defenses to end the year. Caleb Williams likes to run behind his pads. He's a big old boy, and he runs like it. I mean, he's one play away. He is one play away from being the guy that saves the day and being back in the good races in Norman. So I think it's clear whose team it is. But
yeah. Now, this one to me is the most intriguing, Oklahoma State and Iowa State. Oklahoma State feels like they've been teetering on a loss pretty much all season long.
It's amazing.
I mean, if you look, they've not really had that whole, wow, Oklahoma State. I mean, they had a nice some distance between them and Kansas State, which is what the first time was like, oh, hey, maybe they've awoken. But and they played early on without some of their wide receivers. I get all that. But you watch the way they play, and they are going to play you close.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Because of Spencer Sanders, because of the way that they're set up on offense, their defense is really good. This game is going to be a rock fight. This is not going to be – you're going to see some good stuff from the running backs. You're You're going to see two quarterbacks that are good at times and average to below at others. You're going to see some really physical defense. And could Iowa State be the team that gets Oklahoma State? We don't know, because Oklahoma State, when you watch them, you just don't really know what to make of them in the long run. But in the moment, they really know who they are in the moment of each game. And I think that's why they've kept winning, is they're not trying to do anything that they know that they're incapable of doing.
They are an absolute enigma. Like, they're the most ambiguous top 10 team I can think of in recent memory. I mean, Spencer Sanders, every single game I say, okay, well, I think Oklahoma State will lose because I trust insert quarterback here than I do Spencer Sanders. Like Casey Thompson, I think he's a better quarterback than Spencer Sanders. Brock Purdy, I think is a better quarterback than Spencer Sanders. That hasn't been the deciding factor for whatever reason, so that speaks volumes to Oklahoma State. I also wonder, okay, how bad is your quarterback room if Spencer Sanders continues to be the guy based on how much he's turned it over? You must really like his legs, or you really feel like he is just the best option for you at quarterback throwing the football. So that's either here or there, but
he threw three picks against Baylor.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
And they won the game by 10.
It's amazing.
I mean,
it is unbelievable. The way, I mean, they have fed Jalen Warren. Like the Utah State transfer has, I mean, I think he had like 190-something yards last week. Like, they have rode him into the ground. Will that stand during the rest of this final season stretch? I hope so, for their sake. But, I mean, will someone please make Spencer Sanders beat you? And I hope Iowa State is the team that puts, this all down to brass tacks and says, okay, Spencer Sanders, will you beat us, yes or no? And, I mean, I hope for his sake they're able to, create some magic, and he does end up being the guy that does it for Oklahoma State, because it feels like they have won continuously in spite of Spencer Sanders, not because of him.
Yeah. And it's just, they are an enigma dipped in a riddle, all covered in clue. I mean, it just doesn't
covered in clue.
doesn't make any
fried
sense.
In questions.
No, I mean, if you have a quarterback that turns the ball over as much as he does, that's what gets coaches fired, because they keep playing quarterbacks like that. Mike Gundy, undefeated.
And it's not like it's just us here being, people that are in Big 12 country closer to a certain university that are anti-Spencer Sanders. It is like he has historically had the second most amount of turnovers in the country, I believe it is, since 2019. Like, you don't stick around long enough to earn that stat if you're a starting quarterback. Like, it is unbelievable that he is still the starting quarterback, and they've been as good as they are.
Yeah. It's not that he's just average, like Jared Dagey.
Yeah.
Jared Dagey doesn't really turn the ball over too terribly much compared to Spencer Sanders. He just can't. He's not as athletic. Spencer Sanders, and I think Mike Gundy probably believes this, is he believes that he can awaken the dragon, and one day he'll be that guy. I just think that we kind of know who he is now.
I mean, they are spotting every single team they play 2 possessions, or at least a possession and a half, because of how they choose to turn the ball over and turn it on late in the game. And credit to them, they found ways to be undefeated.
Yeah, and it's not like, that's the thing is, you watched like Mike Gundy's teams back in the day when they were running the spread, or Art Briles, they could turn the ball over a couple times because they knew that, like, okay, well, that was a pick, probably deep on the other team's end because they were moving so far. So yeah, we threw a pick at at their 2-yard line. Mm-hmm. All right, whatever.
Arm punt.
We're gonna have 7 drives before the end of this half, so we'll make it up.
It's all okay.
But it's different. They're not doing it off. They're trying to speed it up, so it makes absolutely no sense. West Virginia and TCU, things have gotten bad for West Virginia. Neil Brown's seat keeps getting a little bit warmer. I don't know if that's necessarily something they're going to do, but it's something that's being talked about a lot in West Virginia country now, is that they made the right hire in Neil Brown. TCU got back on track, but TCU still has problems on defense. And, I think most teams are going to be in every game with TCU because of that defense and because it's not Gary Patterson-esque. But I just think that, Max Duggan, Zach Evans, they've got a really good running game at TCU right now. Quentin Johnston's starting to really play well.
Yeah.
And even despite the defense, they still have Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, who, can get you the stops you need once a game because he's going to make a play. So.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because both teams are kind of on the ropes. Obviously, West Virginia be a team that continues to kind of come apart at the seams. TCU kind of got it handed to them in Norman against Oklahoma, so they're kind of reeling again. Zach Evans, you hope he can get healthy because he's one. I mean, I feel like every single back we talk about in this conference is I mean, they deserve national recognition, so it's a shame that they can't all get it. But Zach Evans, one of the best backs in the country as well. So if they can get him healthy, they got a great back behind him too, and I think it's Keandre Miller is his name. Yeah. But no, if Max Duggan can play well, it feels like West Virginia is just about ready to throw in the towel. I mean, I think their last game was against Baylor, and they had a bye week last week, I think. So don't quote me on that, but I believe that's right. So yeah, I mean, I think morale is really, really low in West Virginia. I think Neil Brown deserves a little bit longer, but the strength of their team was their defense, and it feels like they're just about ready to say, okay, what's the point?
They lost a couple of transfers off that defense, and again, you can't. When you had really good players, you can hope that you have some depth, but sometimes you just can't replace guys in a year. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to do that. Sometimes it takes 2 years or 3 to replace the talent you really had just because you need experience. Yeah, so I think Neil Brown deserves. I think most coaches deserve more time, although. Like, if you look at Matt Wells, he's just struggled to, like, what is Texas Tech? What are they? And I think they need to question the direction of their whole thing with football. Like, what do you want to be? The thing they had with Mike Leach is you knew what Texas Tech was. They had an identity, and that's why they won, because they stuck to it. None of the coaches, subsequent coaches, I mean, even Clay Kingsbury was trying to be Mike Leach again, but his defensive coaching was just so abysmal that it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And so what are you? What do you want to be? How do you want to win football games? That's how you win consistently. You've decided this is how we're going to win football games. And that identity can change. Alabama's changed their identity based on the personnel they can get and what they have to do to keep pace.
And games change too.
But you have to decide that before the season starts.
Yeah.
This is who we're going to be. This is how I'm going to build it. You can't just decide like, okay, this week we're going to do it this way. This week we're going to do it this way. You have to decide who you're going to be. Now, you can be balanced. You can be diverse in offense. You can have a lot of different things. But if you don't really know how you can win games, like, you can have that one personality that says, if all else fails, we can always do this. They don't have that.
And to their credit, they lost Tyler Shuck, which was, I think, who they were building their identity around. But you can't have your identity built around one player that came in as a grad transfer. Like, if that's your identity is Tyler Shuck as the new grad transfer quarterback, you're probably already in hot water. And I think they knew they were in hot water even before Tyler Shuck came. And that was the reason Tyler Shuck did come to Texas Tech, was to be the savior, because they were cashing all their chips on Tyler Shuck to come in and be the golden man and change the program around and essentially just win them some football games and keep that staff in there, because you don't want to really go to the grad transfer route if you have the luxury of it. I mean, to a degree, you want to get the best player available, but in a perfect world, you recruit who you want, you get them on your program, and they come in and play for you at the right time and win you ball games. Going to the grad transfer portal, you're like, okay, we need you to play now. You're going to play now. Help us keep our jobs. That was the expectation. So to have him hurt, obviously, plan B right now with Henry Columbia.
Yeah, exactly. When we come back, Chalk Talk, good Spencer Sanders and bad Spencer Sanders. This is the big one, too. 365 Sports, brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack. Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125. Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com. Welcome back into the big 1-2 here on 365 Sports. Again, a reminder, like and subscribe, or all the puppies in the shelters will get adopted by people who don't love them. Just saying.
Whoa.
That was deep.
High stakes.
That's high stakes.
High stakes.
That's high stakes. Or hear about this one. like and subscribe, or when you want a puppy, you'll get an old cat. So that's the exact opposite.
It's not good.
Exactly. So I don't control these things. It's just what the like and subscribe gods tell me to say, JD. Of course, we're brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. If you're coming on into town, please stop by Shorty's Pizza Shack. I've heard from some BYU fans last week that they went and tried Shorty's and loved it, and obviously you would. So thanks to the BYU fans who went and had some pizza and wings and pizza pillows, and well, I know they didn't have any beer, but still, enjoyed Shorty's Pizza Shack even in a loss. But it's time for Chalk Talk, JD, and it's good Spencer Sanders and bad Spencer Sanders.
Yeah.
There's no medium Spencer Sanders.
No.
And Oklahoma State would be really well off if there was. If there was just a medium Spencer Sanders.
That would be great.
Just if they could turn him, honestly, sometimes he's so bad, I think they would just, if he had a knob, turn him to medium.
Absolutely.
And just go, let's just ride this out and see what happens. Because the way that they're winning, and they're undefeated and climbing the rankings, and they're a force to be reckoned with for sure in the Big 12, and they're in the top tier of this conference, but it's never pretty.
No.
They don't win pretty. They're not the belle of the ball when it comes to wins, and it's due in large part because of there's a good Spencer Sanders and there's a bad Spencer Sanders, and you've got 5 plays across the spectrum of games that illustrate this point.
Absolutely. We're going to take a look at the wide breadth of the just craziness that is the Spencer Sanders skill set. And it makes me think, too, okay, how good is Oklahoma State really? Because they've done it with a quarterback who is extremely hot and cold. And so, like you said, going to take a look at some of the bad, some of the good. Some of the bad is also categorized as ugly to a degree. But anyways, we're going to jump into it. One of the big things that will drive Oklahoma State fans crazy, he's inaccurate. He's not just inaccurate sometimes, he's inaccurate a lot of the time, and this hurt him really bad in the Texas game, caused them to have to come back. But right here, he's got a simple outbreaking route. So it's not necessarily a comeback all the way, but it's like a deep out, if you will. And Spencer Sanders, on this kind of a route, has to know where to miss with the football. What does that mean? It means if you were to throw an inaccurate pass, it needs to err on the side of to the sideline. So again, outbreaking route needs to be out over here. Why is that? Because the defensive back is likely trailing with him all the way out here. So he's probably backpedaling and running with him. So if he throws it out here, DB can't get it. Spencer Sanders doing what Spencer Sanders does, throws the ball inside and misses to the inside of this route. So again, look, boom, right here. So if he misses anywhere over here, incomplete pass, that's fine. Play another down, offense stays on the field. Instead, he throws an errant pass to right around here. So the DB can make an easy break on the football, up for grabs, ball's going the other way. Right there, never a good sign. Never a good sign. Another thing that we saw from him early in the year, and this could have been because he missed the first game, it wasn't really stepping into many passes. Like, you would see teams heat him up, and he's just throwing the ball wherever. And we saw that against Baylor. Baylor brings some pressure right off the edge. The safety comes in. I guess he's a linebacker now. Bryson Jackson comes in, comes off the edge, heats him up. They don't pick it up. He does a good job by throwing into the blitz, because that's what your coach should do is, okay, you get someone coming off the edge, throw into the blitz. Somebody's usually open. Somebody was, in fact, open, but he didn't have the presence of mind or the accuracy, again, to deliver a catchable ball here. So you see he's getting heated up. Good job throwing it in there. And notice he just throws off his back foot. Like, he's not really stepping into the football at all. Look at his feet. His feet are parallel right here. As a quarterback, they tell you the metaphor is they want you to be punching. You want to throw through somebody. Hard to throw through somebody when you're standing flat-footed, have a very narrow base, not good for throwing the football. Off his back foot, ball's in the air. Easy pitch and catch for the defense.
Yeah, that's bad all the way around. The thing, Spencer Sanders, and again, this is what I would coach medium Spencer Sanders to do, is, look, sacks and interceptions are both bad, but one of them is immeasurably worse. So pick the one that's less bad. Mm-hmm. And sacks are less bad.
Sacks are less bad. He's like Las Vegas' favorite quarterback. Plays for high stakes every single time. There's no, we'll play next hand. It's, all right, I'm all in. It's like, well you got 2 clubs, so we can't help you right now.
Black 22, all of it.
Yeah, everything on. So, I mean, that's what Oklahoma State's been dealing with. And they've been winning to their credit. Yeah. I mean, Jalen Warren, this man right here, been taking a lot of carries. So we'll see if the wheels stay on him, but they've been able to live with it so far. So we saw the last play. He's not stepping into a throw. We'll show you the opposite here. He does throw a good deep ball. Spencer Sanders, lots of flaws. One of his strengths, those are really nice deep balls. So right here, he's got a post route on the bottom. He's got a scissors concept. So meaning he's going to run a deep post. He's going to run a deep corner, puts this safety back here. I don't know if you can see him. These safeties are going to be in a bind because you have to pick between, okay, my man breaking out here, my man breaking out here. You have to defend both. Spencer Sanders does a great job of splitting the DBs. Good play action fake. Notice how, we'll go back here. Notice the difference in the way he steps into this throw. Granted, he's got some protection, steps into throw all the way, again, punching through somebody. So he does a great job here. Great base, ready to lock and load. This is a great throw. Again, between two safeties. So he's got all this real estate out here. Intermediate game, not so much, but high stakes. Big, deep pass ball, money. So that was actually pretty impressive. Like, I've been at the forefront of the anti-Spencer Sanders crowd, and that throw right there, I was like, okay. He did throw 3 picks in that game, but the touchdown wasn't enough to get him the win.
Yeah, and that was the touchdown that put Baylor really in the hole there.
Yeah.
That particular one right there. So, yeah, I mean, look, you're going to feast or famine with him, and I do think 2019, the second half of that Baylor game, was where he in the first half was playing really well. Mm-hmm. At the end of the second quarter, towards the end, he threw an interception to Kalen Barnes. And from that moment on, it's like his growth was completely stunted.
That was it.
Since then, and we have not seen anything better since that point. It's been the same, but not better. And that's not what you want if you're Oklahoma State, but they're still winning games with him back there.
They're finding ways to win games, and I think one thing they're allowing him to do is playing to his strengths. So, I mean, okay, Spencer Sanders, you don't do the intermediate game that well, that's fine. We'll run, get you some more open windows. Also, another thing he does well, he's a dual threat quarterback. He's really dangerous with the ball in his hands. And so, credit to Mike Gundy and his staff. They've done their best to shelter him to a degree, or at least put him in position to where he's more comfortable. So, against Baylor, they've done a great job using the zone read scheme. So, zone read, for those of you that don't know, means we got a option right here for our quarterback. So he can either give it to the running back going up the inside zone here, or you can pull it and come around right here, all based on what our defensive end does. So if he wants to crash and take away the inside zone, that's fine, we'll pull it and run outside. If he wants to come upfield, we'll give it and he'll come right underneath. So what happens here, he crashes, boom, right here, he's crashing. This man is going outside and blocking the linebacker here. So great play design there by Oklahoma State, makes a good read and gets outside. This is where he's dangerous. Right here, green grass, he's got a blocker, his speed, he beats the defensive end. This is where Spencer Sanders brings a lot to the table for Oklahoma State. This is why he's still your starting quarterback. He probably doesn't have the best arm on the team. Like, I would venture to say, you put him and Shane Illingworth out there to do quarterback drills, I'm probably not putting my money on Spencer Sanders. But right here, when he can pull it off the zone read and get 20, 30 yards, I mean, he is an elite athlete when he gets into space. And that's why you have to account for him. That's why the safeties have to play up. That's why he's able to do what he is able to do, passing the ball.
You know what I think about Spencer Sanders a lot? I think he would have been a very good quarterback in a bygone era of when you ran like the I or the triple option, like those Nebraska offenses or the wishbone. He would have been excellent in that kind of an offense where his kind of passing style, you would never really know because he'd only be throwing 15 passes a game.
Yeah.
And mostly they'd go for big plays because everybody's cheating up to stop that option. He would have been great in that era, but, you know, it's not that era anymore.
I mean, if he's playing for Navy back in the day, he's beating out Roger Staubach. He's winning the Heisman Trophy. Like, life is good for Spencer Sanders back in the day, but he's stuck in this era, so we're asking him to do the zone read and throw the intermediate pass. But his strengths, running the football, throwing the deep ball, and then also throwing on the run, which they allowed him to do. And again, they're so worried about his dual threat ability. So this is why the Texas defense has to honor, one, his running ability, two, Jalen Warren's running ability, because they've been handing to him all game long, all season long. Worried about his health. Another video for another time. But right here, we'll see we got like kind of a flood concept. So we got my short route right here, got an intermediate route right here. Down to the bottom of the screen, we got a comeback. So we got high, intermediate, low is kind of how you're going to read this. So look at what the defense is doing. He's all the way creeped up. He's behind because he's worried about the run play over here. Like, everybody is a step behind because they're worried about the run game of Jalen Warren. And then you have to go ahead and honor Spencer Sanders' run game. So what does that mean? When you get on the edge, you got a guy creeping up for there. He's back here trying to account for this intermediate route. He's still not sure he's not going to tuck it in and run. So everyone's kind of a little bit on edge. Everyone's a step behind, able to find the soft spot in the zone. And to his credit, he does throw a good ball on the run. Like, he's not always the most accurate when he sets up the pass. He's not great in the intermediate game, but when he gets on the move, when he puts defenses in a bind with his running ability, that's where Spencer Sanders can kind of be the great equalizer for you. So he's a playmaker. I think he's a bit of a gamer, honestly. He's not going to be awesome on 1st and 10, but similar to Charlie Brewer back in the 2019 Baylor season, 4th quarter, you need a score, it's 3rd and 7, he'll make a play for you.
Well, that's what he did this week against Texas, and that's why they are sitting at 6-0, and Texas is sitting at 4-3 right now. So, he's what's going to either help them win or lose this conference. That's the missing piece, because everything else, they can run block clearly. They protect him well for the most part. The defense is very, very trustworthy and reliable, if not just darn salty most of the time. But Spencer Sanders is that X factor, and how he goes, so go their Big 12 title chances.
Yeah, in this conference, you can only hide a quarterback for so long. Like, you can maybe hide him against, I thought they were going to expose him against Texas, but apparently they could hide him against Texas because they didn't have the chops on defense. When it comes to Bedlam at the end of the year, they're going to need him to step up. Like, you can't get down to Oklahoma, especially with the way their offense looks right now. They're going to need him to play like a near perfect game. So you can hide him right now against some of these opponents. I was surprised they were to beat Baylor. I think in that game's in Waco, it's different. But bottom line, Spencer Sanders, good enough to win right now. Don't think it wins you the conference, though. I'm with you.
All right, that's Chalk Talk here on the Big 1-2 on 365 Sports. Please like and subscribe to these videos, and please like and subscribe to CFB with JD, and just watch for hours and hours on end. Don't explain it. Don't need a reason. Just watch. Just let it bathe over you and watch over and over again. Watch hours are important as well, people. So I know people tell you to get outside and get some sun. I'm telling you not to do that. Or take it outside in the sun. Just put a little shade over it and watch it.
Yeah, sounds great.
So either way, best of both worlds. But please like and subscribe to CFB with JD, Sigum 365, 365 Sports. All that's just like and subscribe. Recklessly. I don't care. Just do it. Please do it. Thanks to Armstrong Sims. Thanks to Jack McKenzie. Thanks to Shorty's Pizza Shack. This is the Big 1-2. We'll see you next week.